live. So this is focusing on kind of like the flexibility that you need to be able to perform tasks. So we're going to be focusing on our shoulders and our hips today. So we'll get started in just a second here. All right, so the first thing I want you guys to do is from standing position, we're going to do some shoulder internal and external rotations just to start with. So I want your elbows at 90 degrees, make a fist, and you're going to come all the way back into external rotation, trying not to flare your rib cages at all, and then back down into internal. So I'm going to do 5 of those. I want you to feel the back of your shoulder really fire up. We're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back down. And we're moving from our elbow here. So we're not moving from our shoulders, we're just moving from the elbow. All right, last 2. So really feeling that posterior shoulder fire up. And last one. Good. And now we're going to talk to our joint capsule. I want you guys to reach all the way out as far as you can. And we're going to do some internal and external rotation with the joint capsule. So if you want to get really good at this, I want you to think about that X mark on your bicep and leading from your bicep as you do this. So all the way back and forward for 2 more. And last one. Okay, we're going to go back into that 90-degree position. We're going to do one arm at a time. So I want you to really fire up your left arm into as much external rotation as possible, really feeling that posterior shoulder fire up. And now right arm, and you're going to do 5 internal and external rotations with the right arm only. So making sure that you're not flaring your rib cage or shrugging your shoulder. Just slow and controlled. And don't forget to breathe. Okay, and now I want you to fire up that right shoulder so you're really feeling that posterior aspect of the shoulder on the right. And we're going to do 5 on the left side. Keeping those ribs down. So we're not moving from the mid-back. Just moving from that elbow. Last 2. And last one. Excellent. All right. So now we're going to warm up our thoracic spine with some cat camels. So these are segmental cat camels. So I want you guys on your toes. And your hands are going to be just underneath your shoulders. And we're going to start in full flexion. So flexing the neck, flexing the upper back, flexing the lower back. And then I want you to think about one segment at a time, starting from the very base of your sacrum, your lower back, going into extension. So just one segment at a time. So you have 12 thoracic vertebrae, so I want you to think about just bringing one down at a time until you're in full extension. I'm going to do 2 more of these. So again, coming up into full forward flexion, starting with the neck. And then full extension, starting from the lower back. Really slow and controlled, just one segment at a time moving. And last one. Great, okay. Now we're gonna grab our yoga block, and I want our elbow at 90-degree angle, and our elbow is just gonna be resting on the edge of the yoga block. We're gonna be working on some external rotation here. So I want your chest flat on the mat, so we're not flaring your rib cage at all. Take a deep breath, and I want you to go into as much external rotation as possible. So really fire up that posterior shoulder, and you're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly down and relax. I'm going to do 4 more of those. Making sure that you're not cheating with your elbow. I don't want your elbow back like this or down like this. So again, we're going to come up slowly and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. And up. Keeping that wrist straight. And really feeling the back of that shoulder fire up. Excellent. All right, flip it over to the other side. Okay, and bringing it back into full external rotation, firing up that posterior shoulder. And down, 4 more. And we're just making sure that our ribs aren't coming up off the ground as we're doing this. Excellent. All right, push that yoga block away. I'm going to demonstrate this next one from the standing position first. So we're going to start with our hands on our lower back. Now the higher up that we go, the harder it's going to be. So if you don't have good mobility, you might want to start a little bit lower down. So hands are on the lower back, working on some internal rotation. You're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then you're going to lift your hands up off the lower back, and then you're going to extend as much as possible out into a Y. And then we're coming up into a Y shape slowly. Again, keeping those ribs down, shoulders down. Squeezing those shoulder blades back together. And returning to the back. So we're going to break this down first. Again, back down on the ground. So we're going to put our hands as high up on our lower back as we're comfortable. And I want you to fire up those shoulder blades, squeeze them together, lifting those arms up off the lower back. And I want you to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, and again, we're going to fire up those shoulder blades. Arms up. And this time we're going to go out into a Y shape, extending our arms as far back as possible and holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keeping the core nice and tight as we do this. And back down. Okay, now we're going to do a full wrap. So we're going to come all the way up into that full Y shape. Squeezing the shoulder blades together. Out into a Y, and then slowly bringing the thumbs up. Keeping your arms up the whole time. Bending the elbows at the last minute, keeping those shoulder blades squeezed, and then resting on our lower back. We're going to do 2 more of those. Again, squeezing the shoulder blades together, arms up. Lock out those elbows. Slowly coming up into that Y position, thumbs up. And back down. Shoulder blades squeezed together. And resting down. All right, last one. Let's make this our best one. Fire up the shoulder blades. Arms up. Lock out those elbows. Slowly up into a Y. And slowly back down. Bending the elbows and back down to rest. Good. All right, this next one, we're going to extend our arms all the way out, and we're going to point our fingers up towards the ceiling. So this is to work on our handstand position. So if you can't get into a position comfortably like this, you're probably not ready for a handstand because you're putting all your weight through this little joint. So this is going to train some of your handstand mobility. So I want your arms extended out as far as possible. And you're going to take a deep breath and then lift your arms up as high as you can with your wrists in full extension. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So remembering to keep your core engaged this entire time. You're going to squeeze your triceps. We're going to do this again. So wrist pointed back. Take a deep breath. Lift the arms up. And this time we're going to bring the wrists parallel and back for 5. Excellent. All right, I'm gonna bring you guys out into a T shape now. So I want you to go out into a T with the thumbs up. And we're gonna keep our shoulder blades down and back. We're engaging our core and just keeping the rib cage down. So I don't want you guys to use your lower back as your shoulder joint. So if you feel your lower back or your mid back fire up, or if you feel like your ribs kind of firing down and they're kind of painful because they're pushing into the mat, that means that you're flaring your rib cage or you're using your lower back. So just try and focus on that shoulder mobility only. So this is a really great exercise for your chest, by the way, like just to get some functional chest mobility. So anyone with a really tight chest, this is going to be a great drill for you. So we're out in a T position, thumbs are up, shoulders down, and I want you to squeeze those shoulder blades back together, arms come up as high as they can, and we're going to hold that there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And then this time, we're going to come up, and then we're going to come into a bicep curl. But we're going to keep our elbows neutral as we do it, so that we're only hinging from the elbow. So, squeezing the shoulder blades back, slowly coming into that bicep curl. And back down. We're going to do 4 more of those. Up as high as you can. Don't forget to breathe. Fire up the shoulder blades. Excellent. All right, and our last shoulder drill is a swimmer, so a modified swimmer. So you can use several blocks if you want. I'm going to start you guys off with just one. If you have great shoulder mobility, keep the block stacked up. If not, you can keep it facing down. So I'm going to put mine face up like this. You're going to be, again, prone, because this is the most difficult way to develop that shoulder flexion. And I'm going to move that out a little bit. So we can move it around as we go, or you can keep it kind of closer to you to develop that closer range to start with. So I want you to take a deep breath. You're going to reach out as far as you can. Deep breath in, keeping the abs tucked in, fire up that tricep, and just lock out that shoulder. And you're gonna lift the arm up and bring it over. Lift the arm up and bring it over. We're gonna do that 5 times. So bring that arm up as high as you can, slow and controlled, over. Not forgetting to breathe. For my last one, I'm just going to move this over here a little bit. Good. All right, and then we're going to do our other side, 5 times on the opposite side. So again, reaching out, keep the rib cage down, not compensating with the mid-back. And you're just going to fire up that shoulder. All right, and I'm gonna move that to the side a little bit. And last one, move it to the side just a bit more. Excellent. So that concludes our shoulder mobility. So I'm going to bring Kelly over and she's going to go through some hip mobility with you guys. Hey everyone. So in our transition to hips, the first thing that we're going to grab is a bench or a chair, something where you can comfortably plant your feet on the ground and your knees are not going to be too high. So we're looking for a nice parallel. So I'm going to grab a dining chair. So this is a great exercise that you can do from your desk. I know a lot of us are working from not in our ergonomic settings, not with our usual setups at work, or kind of modifying things at home. So this is a nice one that we can do at home anywhere, just to nicely isolate your lumbar spine. So what I'm gonna have you do, sitting on the edge of your chair, so I don't want you sinking towards the back. I want that pelvis pointed forwards. Think of that belt buckle pointing down towards the ground, crossing the arms through the front. What we're going to be doing, watch me for the first one, we're going to be rotating to the left, tipping that pelvis underneath, rotating through to the right side, and then pointing that belt buckle down. So to the left, we're going to go 3 on each side. Tipping in, crossing over to the right side, and flexing forward. If it feels a little crunchy, if it feels a little painful, just back off a little bit. But the idea is that we're going to isolate that lumbar spine really, really nicely. All right, we're going to switch directions now. So keeping the arms crossed, breathing nice and easy. If you're holding your breath, we know that we might be pushing through something that's a little bit too uncomfortable. Last 2 reps on this side, rotating to the left, coming around, and 1 more. Awesome. So this is just going to get us kind of set up to move to the floor. So let's move that chair, that stool out of the way. Coming down onto all fours. So a lot of the exercises we're doing today are FRC based, so functional range conditioning. You might have seen this one done from a standing position. Today we're going to do it quadruped, which means on all fours. And what that does is we're going to bias the pelvis a little bit. It's going to allow you not to cheat as much. So I'm going to get you guys on all fours. Hands are planted in that nice tabletop position. We're going to start with that right leg. So what you're going to be doing, maintaining balance, maintaining that nice flat back. Think of that hot cup of coffee on your low back. Starting with the right knee, we're going to drive the right knee forward, rotating out to the side and getting that pivot in, guiding with the knee, the front of the kneecap first, coming around in a big circle, and then coming back to neutral. We're going to go for 5 reps on each side. So if you're noticing that maybe you have less range of motion compared to when you're doing it from a standing position, that's okay, because we know that we're taking away the ability for you to cheat a little bit. So it's 2 for me. We're going to go for 3 more. Remember, keeping that pelvis nice and steady, pushing the floor away. Don't let those shoulders sink in. They're nice and loose from Joe's work. We don't want to ruin that. 1 more for me. Good. Take a break if you need. Reset onto the left side. If you want the added challenge, you can do this up against a wall. So if I was doing my left knee right now, you can push your right side up against a wall, forcing that shoulder and that hip to make contact, and it takes away some of that bias even more, which is really, really nice if you're a little bit more advanced. But for most of us, you can be comfortable in this position. So I'm going to go to 2 more, all the way around, tipping a little bit. And last one. Awesome. All right, setting yourself up on the floor now. We're going to start, left leg's in the front. We're going to make a nice shin box. So I've got a nice 90-degree angle through the front and a nice one at the back as well.
If this angle right off the bat feels a little bit too intense for you, I just want you to close them up a little bit so you can bring your heels a little bit closer to your body. But for now, we're going to start neutral. Hands are going to come over that front leg, focusing on driving that front knee down. So I've got my left knee in the front, focusing on driving that energy through the floor. I'm going to keep contact with my back heel, and we're going to do 5 external rotations. So like I said, keeping the shoulders nice and square, putting that weight over that front leg, keeping that front knee down. We're really focusing on driving our energy, driving that knee up towards the ceiling. 2 more for me. And last one. Again, if the angle isn't working for you, if you're not getting enough feedback, feel free to open it up and make it a little bit more advanced, or feel free to close it up and make it a little bit friendlier. So for me on this side already, I've got more limited mobility in the front of my legs, so I'm going to close up that ankle just a little bit. Hands are planted through the front, energy driving down through that front knee, keeping that back foot planted, rotating through the hips. So we're going for 5 on this side as well. If you get a bit of cramping, that's totally normal. A lot of these ranges are unfamiliar, which is why we're training them for you today. 2 more. And 5, awesome. All right, so going back into a similar position, facing me, so you're gonna see I'm in that similar shin box position, but it's a little bit smaller, a little bit more closed in. So I've got my left leg in the front, I'm gonna use my left hand as a bit of a kickstand, and what we're focusing on is doing a nice kind of activated loaded Faber test. So what you're gonna do, I'll show you the first round first, is that keeping my energy driving through this left side, I'm gonna keep my heel planted, and I'm sliding my heel up towards the front of my mat or at the front of the floor. So what I want you to focus on, notice how my toes are not changing in orientation. So when I start in this position, my toes are pointed out, I'm flexed through the heel is pointing down, and as I drag forward, my foot isn't rotating, my toes are still pointing to the outside. So that's what I want you to focus on. So we're gonna go for 5. If you're really advanced, you can add an ankle weight, or you can even do this from a hover. I'm a little bit more comfortable here, so this is where I'm gonna hang out. So it's 3 for me. Breathing through the position, trying to keep good contact through my left hip. 4. And 5. All right, we're gonna switch. So again, if one side feels a little different from the other, all good, just make those modifications. So I'm leaning on that right hand on that kickstand, getting my hips set up, and then as I'm dragging forward, making sure that my toes are staying in that nice neutral orientation. Like I said, if you want to be a little bit more advanced, you can do this from a hover position. I have a bit of trouble there, so I'm going to keep my foot planted. 3, I'm going to go for 2 more. Keep it up. And 1. Awesome. So we've worked some really good rotation through the hips. Now we're going to get a nice capsule stretch. So this might feel familiar for, if you've done this with your manual therapist on the table where they've put you in this nice figure 4 position and opened up the hips. So we're going to do that for ourselves. Again, sitting in this nice closed off shin box position. My left leg is forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left elbow, planting the elbow on the knee, grabbing onto the ankle, matching it with my opposite hand. And what I'm aiming to do is as I drop my right shoulder, I'm pressing into the leg and I'm trying to shoot my leg out to the opposite wall. So you really want to find that torque in that nice position through the hip to get a nice capsular stretch. So we're going to hold it for a few seconds, but it can get a little uncomfortable. So I just want you to kind of pulse through it a little bit. Back off a little bit and then go in a little bit deeper. If this is feeling too intense for you, I'd invite you just to sit in this position. This is totally fine. We're still going to get a great stretch. Everyone's at a different level, but for people who do want something a little bit deeper, this is a really nice way to access it on your own. You're going to feel a stretch through your piriformis, through your glutes. and just get some nice opening in that hips capsule. All right, one more pulse on this side and we're gonna switch. Good, switch to the other side. So my right leg is in the front, planting that right elbow onto the knee, grab onto the ankle, matching it, and then this time we're trying to shoot this way. So I'm gonna drop that left shoulder in and really aim to push that knee out and that shin out to the opposite side. Hanging out there for a second. Come out of it if you feel like you need to. Hold it a little longer if it's comfortable. A few more reps on this side. Awesome. Shake it out a little bit if you need it. So I think we're on to our last move. So if you have a dowel close by or a broomstick, I invite you to grab it right now. We're going to be at a standing position. All right. So what's nice about this exercise is, again, with that Faber test, this is going to be a nice loaded position from a standing position. So what I'm going to have you do, you're going to have your dowel right now in your right hand. I want you to move it about a foot away from your body and then out on a 45-degree angle. And where we're going to start right now is I'm going to take my left foot, cross your toes into adduction, and then what I want you to do is, focusing on keeping a nice level pelvis, you're going to drive the toes up along the dowel. So what we're doing is we're working simultaneous abduction, flexion, and external rotation of the hip. Really nice little hip opener. This is from a pretty neutral position. If you find that this is too difficult, move the bar a little bit closer to you. You're going to feel it's easier in some ranges and harder in others, just because your leg is trying to find that availability. If you're finding it's way too easy, move the stick a little bit further. So we're going to go for 5 reps on each side. So find that comfortable distance, driving the toes up the bar with control, keeping a nice micro bend in that standing leg. We don't want to hurt the back of our knees, keeping your hips nice and steady. So tests like this give us a nice indication of what your squat position could look like, just on the availability of your abduction, of your rotation. I'm gonna go for one more on this side. Good. Shake it out a little bit, we're gonna switch. So dowel is in my left hand, putting it out about a foot from my body, and then out on that 45-degree angle. What we're going to do, we're going to cross those toes over and start to work the position. So you might notice for me that right away I have less external rotation. That's fine. If you've got an injury in one hip, less availability in one versus the other. Going for 5 reps. And last one for me. Awesome. Well, guys, I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if we mentioned it at the beginning, but our names are Joanna, Dr. Joanna Taylor, and Kelly Salvador. We are the co-owners of Recover RX alongside Kinetic Edge on Carling in Little Italy. And we are still currently under the same closure obligations as everyone else, but we are renting out our recovery equipment. So we've got Normatec, Game Ready, Newcom that can be delivered to you guys at home. And as you guys might have seen in the Sweat Spot post, we've got an awesome giveaway right now. Some Tooth and Nail beer, Theragun, some Normatec brought to your home for a week-long rental. So please tag your friends. Please share the info. I hope you guys got a lot out of this video today. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to send us a little bit of a message. Dr. Joanna Taylor on Instagram, Kelly Salvador RMT, or Recover RX. So thanks for joining us today, you guys. We hope to see you again soon. Have a wonderful weekend.